Hey nerds, we are going to do a review and breakdown of the new HBO limited series, The Penguin, starting now. Welcome to Nerd Social. I am Colin. So this is the new limited series and a continuation of 2022's The Batman, and it is written by Lauren LeFranc and directed by Craig Zobel. The spoiler-free logline of this episode is: in the wake of Carmine Falcone's death, Oz attempts to legitimize himself among Gotham's criminal underworld. My spoiler-free thoughts on this episode is that it is a grounded continuation of the Batman from 2022. So it really is from that world of Matt Reeves. It reminds me of a combination of Grand Theft Auto, the video game series, and also the Arkham Batman game series. And Matt Reeves have already stated that he did take some inspiration from that game series. You get to see a lot of the difference between the grittiness of Gotham City and the affluent neighborhood where the family lives. Colin Farrell as Oz Cobb tries to be a derivative of Tony Soprano. It's not a complete knockoff of that iconic character, but you can see some allusions to him in this episode and also from the trailers. The characters are also brilliantly acted. Colin Farrell as Oz Cobb is really brilliant. He really continues the momentum that he had from the Batman, and the charm, the brutalness is all in this character and in this episode as well. And you also have Clancy Brown, who plays Salvatore Maroni. And for those of you who don't know Clancy Brown, he was in SpongeBob, and also he has done a lot of voice acting in a lot of the DC properties that you've seen. And he was famously Lex Luthor in the Superman animated series. And then you also have Kristen Milioti as Sophia Falcone, who is very evil. And you also would probably recognize her from being the mother from How I Met Your Mother. In terms of a rating, I would give it an 8 out of 10, which is a road trip. I think that it really does deserve that rating because there's some creative elements that are involved in this episode, as well as a shocking moment at the beginning of this episode. But it is still very generic gangster tale based in the Batman universe, conceived by Matt Reeves. And it does really, for DC fans, bring another type of worldview that's a little different from some of the other Batman iterations that you've seen in the past. So having him be the main character is definitely a difference, and you get to hopefully appreciate a lot of not only this episode but also the series overall from seeing the trailers. This is actually going to be appearing on Sunday nights at 9, so it's the House of the Dragon, Succession, that prime time slot. So it's hopefully going to bring a lot of ratings. The ratings of it so far online has varied a lot. Most of it's been pretty good, but I think that there's definitely going to be some potential moving forward. Without further ado, I am going to go into spoiler territory, but before I do that, please, if you like more content like this, like, share, subscribe. It really helps us out in the algorithm, and we really appreciate your support. Spoilers ahead. So we get to see at first the recap of the power vacuum that is created in Gotham City due to the events of the Batman movie. This was a screenshot that was very reminiscent of the movie, and it got replayed in the first few minutes of this episode as well. And again, a lot of news reports talking about what has happened. Then you get to see Oz going into the now abandoned Iceberg Lounge. You saw that in the film that it was very vibrant. It was very a happening place with a lot of corruption that was going on. And it seems as though he is trying to retrieve some files to try to blackmail a city councilman and trying to find some compromising pictures of the councilman that is in Gotham City. At the same time, he then confronts Alberto Falcone, who is now the anointed leader of the Falcone crime family with the death of his father, Carmine Falcone. Oz was definitely taken aback by the fact that he showed up, so he tried to smooth talk his way out of the situation by providing the story of this gangster that he grew up idolizing and admiring. And the gangster that he did describe very much similar to the gangster from Godfather 2, where Vito shot him in that film. So again, there's some iterations to gangster movies here and there, which I felt it was pretty cool overall, but again, very generic and rooted in the Batman universe. So after he told the story, Alberto was not very pleased because he was thinking much bigger, basically made fun of Oz and his ambitions. And so what happened was that he shot him, and there's a lot of insecurities with Oz going on with his limp and his look. From there, he then wraps the body in a body bag and basically throws him down the stairs. And in some ways, he's pretty shocked as to what has happened. He didn't probably meant to do what he did, but at the same time, there's a part of him that said, yeah, this is what I really wanted, and I really want to take this place over and do these shady things to fill the power vacuum that is within the criminal underworld. While he's trying to get rid of the body, we find out that he meets a group of young people that's trying to jack his car and to try to steal his rims, and he ends up catching one of the young people, Victor Aguilar, and Victor is trying to plead for his life here, and trying to see what he can do to try to get himself out of it. And you see a little bit of Oz's humanity in here. I think that he got triggered because Victor is a stutterer, and it really brought him in a lot of ways to his own disability. You'll see later on that he walks on leg braces, and it's definitely these two really damaged people. Of course, Victor, we find out later on that his family probably didn't survive the flood that happened in the Batman movie. Oz is reluctantly trying to take him under his wing. And throughout this episode, we get to see how Victor tries to prove to Oz that he is legitimate, that he's willing to work, that he's not just pleading for his life. But of course, in this moment, we can see that he is desperately trying to stay alive, to say anything to stay alive in this case. We also get to see Sophia Falcone. She's supposed to be in Arkham. The context of this is that Oz gets sent to the family's house up in an affluent part of the neighborhood, and basically he has found out that his operations are going to be shut down due to some maneuverings that the family decided to move to another location, and that it's not going to be as viable business wise to continue to do stuff in Gotham. But Oz was very adamant that he should be able to keep these operations going because he has a big shipment. That's what he heard from Alberto, and trying to talk big about the situation before Sophia walked in, and then he was really shocked at the fact that she was there. There is a little bit of a love tension that goes on between these two characters, but who knows what really is going to transpire throughout the season. It's going to be very intriguing to see these two characters' relationships throughout the limited series. Before all this, when he was trying to bury the body, he sought out another friend to try to have an alibi for the fact that he murdered Alberto, figuring out what he can do to try to cover that up by asking a friend that he spent the night with her. Then we get to see a little bit of Oz's home life, and this was very interesting to see that his mother is still alive and that he had a family. We don't get to see where his brothers are at, but we do get to see his mom here. His mom does give me the vibes of Livia Soprano from The Sopranos. Very calculative, manipulative, and also here Oz told her the truth about what happened to Alberto, and basically he was having a lot of doubts. He's thinking to himself he shouldn't have done that, but Oz's mom was like, no, you should really embrace this. This is your time. And this is your way to get out of the shadows, to be the big boss. And so she's actually egging him on to be this person that's going to fill the power vacuum in Gotham. Then you have Clancy Brown's character, who is Salvatore Maroni. And again, Salvatore Maroni was very big in the comics as well in the Dark Knight movies, who was played by Eric Roberts. There's some tension between the two because Oz worked for him before, and the fact that Oz worked for Falcone, who's a rival. And at the end of it, he gave Salvatore the pinky ring that Carmine Falcone took from him when he went to jail. And so the pinky ring is a big deal because it was passed down to Alberto. And then when Alberto was killed, Penguin basically took the pinky ring from Alberto's dead body. So that was pretty interesting in itself. And we'll see what happens later on in terms of their relationship. Here, Victor saying to Oz that he has a lot of ambition. He finally gets what Oz is trying to do and that he wants to be partners with him. He did a couple of jobs with him before, but now he really is trying to step up and be the number one to Oz. And then you see here that he affirmed he had ambition was to basically put the body of Alberto into a trunk of a Cadillac. So that's basically what happened there. And then we find out Sophia was being very suspicious of the fact that Alberto was killed, and she doesn't really know if Oz is involved. And so there's a torture scene that happened where Sophia's trying to get information from Oz. While this is happening, the Cadillac then comes into the house of the family, and subsequently, she sees the dead body of her brother and lets out a big scream, as well as a carved sign on the trunk that says payback. So now it kind of messes with her head as to whether or not Oz is the person that killed her brother, or was it Maroni that killed her brother, based on the fact that the pinky ring is missing. And so at the end, we saw that Victor and Oz is really developing a good relationship. They share a snow cone, and it was a nice, satisfying ending to a very good episode overall. So that is pretty much what I think of the Penguin. Tell us what you have to say about the first episode. Please comment down below. Share, subscribe for more content like this. And I'll see you in the next episode. All right. Take care, everybody.